Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to this special report here on the Western Ag Network. I'm Lane Nordlund, and a lot of confusion, frustration, and discussion out on social media over the past few days. That comes as the news that the Missoula Livestock Exchange, as some people call it, I've called it the Five Valleys Livestock Auction, Missoula Stockyards, whatever term you might use to describe it. A lot of people reading headlines that the stockyards would be closing its doors permanently after 84 years. And while there are some changes definitely coming to the facility there west of Missoula, Montana, that is not the full story. So we are joined here today by Mr. Josh Smith. He is well known in the world as being the owner of Montana Knife Company. But Josh, you are playing a role with the future of the stockyards there west of Missoula. I guess first and foremost, welcome here to the conversation. But I guess fill us in on what is happening there in Western Montana.
Yeah, Lane, thanks for having me on. Yeah, it's actually been a bit of a process of looking as to whether or not we were going to buy that property, and one of my concerns, frankly, the biggest concern about that property was the livestock yards, and knowing that we would potentially kind of be in this position down the road if we bought it and did shut it down, and it really was something that we did a lot of looking and talking to different people and trying to figure out what we could do, because I didn't want it to go away entirely. My own daughter has sold her 4-H heifers through there. My wife goes to horse sales there, and I'm neighbors with all these ranchers around. I live in Frenchtown, just 7 or 8 miles from that stockyard. So we're actually going to keep it open as a transfer center. So it is going to be a little bit of a change, but it was very important to me that ranchers had a place to take their cattle locally, where they didn't have to haul stock trailers clear over to Butte or to Great Falls or wherever they were going to go. So we did a deal with the Ramsay Stockyards there, and with Blake, and they're going to start in June. I think June 2nd, they're going to start picking up cattle there, so people can bring their cattle in the morning, and that afternoon those cattle will ship out, so nothing will stay overnight. So it's a bit of a compromise. We're in the business of making knives, and the unfortunate scenario really is that land has become so expensive, especially in Western Montana, and that property is right along the interstate. And honestly, Lane, when I was looking at maybe potentially not purchasing it, one of the ranchers locally said, "Well, if you don't buy it, somebody from out of state's going to buy it, and they're definitely going to shut it all down." And at least we're local, and we're hiring a lot of people, and we're a benefit to our county and to our area. So that's kind of the plan for now.
And again, it is disappointing when you see that opportunity to market cattle through the ring. I know we've seen a lot of frustration on Facebook from folks that, maybe they are ranchers full time, maybe they're hobby producers out in the countryside. But as you mentioned, just having a facility there that have the yards where cattle can be transferred or stored for a few days. And I guess some people may be asking right now, Josh, is why didn't they try to sell the livestock yards and keep it open? But I believe it was on the market for 3 or 4 years, and no one really took the opportunity to buy that and look into it of doing a weekly or a biweekly sale there in Missoula. So it is, as you said, a compromise, and yeah, we're not having a sale there every week, it seems, but it's better than being a hotel, I guess we could say.
Yeah, and that's probably likely what would have happened, and it has been for sale for several years. And I think some people have looked at it. I don't know too much details about the finances and what that looks like, but unfortunately, that land right along the interstate is worth several $1,000,000 now, and to buy that land and operate a yard is probably a really difficult scenario for someone to make that payment. And I've actually worked with a couple of the locals there that thought about maybe taking all the equipment that's there and setting up another yard. That's a big undertaking, because again, they got to secure property, and I think a lot of people don't understand. Even when I started looking into potentially just running the stockyard myself, all the different boards that, the livestock boards you have to go in front of, and all the different certifications and stuff you have to get to be able to even legally sell, the bonds you have to put up. I think some people that were locals that were complaining about this, that wanted to maybe go set their own up, quickly found out just how dang expensive and how challenging that is. And again, that's why we didn't want it to completely go away. If you're going to want to buy horses or buy cows, you're going to probably have to go to to another livestock, sale barn. But at the very least, like I say, I'm really close friends. Our neighboring rancher there, we bought his son's 4-H steer last year, and we put it actually in our employees' freezer in our shop for all the employees to take home at night. It's really important for us to support our local community as a company and still provide at least some kind of an answer that helps these ranchers out.
Well, and it is such a part of that part of the state's history for so many folks that maybe bought their first bred heifer going through the ring, and it is a part of our cultural roots. I guess everybody's going to have mixed feelings about this and have their opinions about it. We know that, but I'm personally relieved to hear that it's going to stay a stockyards and a transfer center. You look to Bozeman and the old stockyards there. There isn't a stockyards there anymore. It's getting developed. They're taking that. We want the Western lifestyle in this rustic, cool area, and we're going to put apartments around there. So I find that relieving that it's not going to get developed. But well, Josh, when we look at the future of the facility itself, are you going to be able to maintain the building where, say, if someone's going to be having a production bull sale, they could rent the facility? I guess, is that still up in the air, or are there discussions around that with some of the local producers in the area?
Yeah, not at the moment. It's some of those legalities, unfortunately, with the state, with insurance companies, even the EPA with like the settling pond that's there with all the you know all the waste that's flowing off of that and being captured right now on site. That permit is being shut down with the state right now. So the people are going to have to probably find another place to hold sales. We're not going to tear that building down per se. We may lease it out to somebody for something. The transfer center, the Ramsay people, they don't really need the building. They just need the corrals and a central place to come in some good loading chutes. So, yeah, and it's definitely near and dear to my heart. I mean, my family's all from ranching. My mom, I'm a 5th generation Montanan. My mom's family was all from ranching. My dad's family, they still run their ranch in Colorado. I grew up in Lincoln. My parents actually were in the excavation world, and then and I've been a knife maker. So, but like I say, all 4 of my kids are in 4-H. My youngest 3 that are still at home all have steers right now, and we raise hogs as well. And my wife just did a team penning on her horses last weekend down in the Bitterroot. So, that way of life isn't lost on us. It's a tough way of life, and frankly, in the Missoula Valley, it's not a real ag, heavy place anymore. It keeps getting chopped up for houses, and it's a tough dichotomy. It's like people complain about housing prices. And the only way to bring housing prices down is to build more houses. And so you end up chopping up these beautiful ranches. But I also understand from a ranching perspective how hard that business is, and how high the taxes are on their land, and why some of those guys decide to chop their land up. It's just tough. It's tough all the way around.
And I know you mentioned insurance or whatnot, and that's always insurance is always a part of the game. Will the yards be able to be utilized by producers that are maybe shipping calves during shipping season? Has that been brought up, or maybe type of an association that could maybe keep the scale or anything like that up to code and be able to ship calves out of there in the fall time? Has that been brought up?
Yeah, no, that actually hasn't been brought up, but I don't see why that couldn't be something that might not possibly work. That might have to be arranged a bit with the Ramsay folks, with Blake, and the issue with the DEQ is with cattle staying overnight. That's when you run into a lot of those DEQ issues. So if people are bringing cattle in and there's semis coming in and those cattle are going out, I don't really see a problem with that. But I'm going to be kind of leasing that pen area to the Ramsay folks and kind of let them run all of that. So that would really be a decision for them. Quite frankly, I got to worry about how to make knives, hunting knives. So
And with that too, I guess there has been a lot of speculation and whatnot on Facebook. It is social media just drives me nuts. And I tell you what, Josh, if I wasn't in agricultural media, I wouldn't have social media, but it's just been a part of our lives. It just frustrates me. But obviously, there's a lot of speculation about the facility and sites themselves. Is there the planned expansion for Montana Knife Company to have some facilities there on the grounds as well?
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually really proud of the business that we're growing in Missoula County, frankly, and in the Frenchtown School District and the tax dollars that are going to that. I started Montana Knife Company in my garage during COVID of 2020. My kids started helping me grind knives and handles, and got a business partner, and we started hiring people and started growing it. We've completely bootstrapped it. We haven't taken on big time investment in any of that, and we now have 56 employees. So it's really, frankly, the American dream. It's a really cool story, and it's actually in my horse pasture. I built a building a couple of years ago in my pasture, and so that's why we need this property. We're growing, and we're putting a new building up right along the interstate there, over on the part of the ground that's not being utilized by the stockyards at all right now. It's frankly, there's a big hole in the ground right now there. We're building a building there. We're going to have a retail store, probably like a Black Rifle coffee, little coffee shop in there. People can come in, drink coffee, check out the knives being built. And we're actually very, very proud of the fact that it's not going to be a Hilton hotel, of which I'm sitting in right now, actually in Nashville. But it's actually going to be, a Montana based, started, owned, and operated family run business that's providing a lot of jobs to, frankly, a county that's been losing jobs, like Pyramid Lumber just shut down in Sealy. The chipboard plant in Missoula shut down. So I'm very proud of the fact that we're kind of moving against the tide, and we're actually growing a company in Montana, and going to provide a lot of good tax dollars and jobs, for our locals.
And again, as I mentioned, it's a difficult situation no matter the way you look at it. But as I referred to, you look at Bozeman's former stockyards and just the development that's around there, and I wouldn't even want to take a horse trailer in that
Yeah.
area just to even drive through and reminisce. But just the fact that obviously, I know a lot of folks would prefer to be able to market cattle right through that ring and whatnot, but somebody could have bought it, leveled it, and put a hotel or another business or apartments or whatever it might be. So you mentioned that beginning of June, that's when Blake Newfer and the crew there at Montana Livestock is planning to start picking up cattle there and making the transport down to Ramsay.
That's correct. Yeah, we're going to be closing on that property right the last week of May, and right away in June. We really don't want it to stop. We want people to be able to move their cattle. So that's the plan. I would direct questions to those guys. Give them a call. They're the ones going to be handling that. And you're right. Social media, things blow up. The Missoulian got the article kind of wrong this morning or without all the facts, but social media, I look at social media, I compare it a lot to a gun. It can be a very dangerous tool, or it can be a very powerful and good tool used for good. So, we've built a company, frankly, through social media, with a one picture and a click of a mouse. We can show a picture of one of our knives to anybody in the nation, and it's free marketing and free advertising. Just depends on how you want to use that tool. And, unfortunately, some people like to, and I understand people are emotional about it, when they, the Missoulian writes an article that it's all going away. And, I understand people getting frustrated and upset. And it is sad that this is kind of the state of some of the egg world right now. And it's a real challenge. And I have my own podcast as well. Actually, you probably didn't know that, but it's called The Josh Smith Show. And I actually just had Cole Mannix on from Mannix Beef in Helmville. I've had several actual cattle and beef producers on my podcast, even though it's kind of a knife making podcast. We actually cover a lot of other things as well. The guys from Little Belt Cattle Company, Greg Putnam, I've had a lot of these people on. And the reason why is I feel like people need to, I talk about buying American made, and whether that's a knife or buying your steaks, or ordering a hamburger from a restaurant that is sourcing their beef local. Montana, I think producers less than 2% of the beef sold in our stores is Montana beef. And if customers and consumers would pay a little bit more attention and start to demand that they want their stores to have Montana beef, and for us to have the packing plants and that industry to help support that, we would all do better in our entire state. So this area is not lost on me. I'm not some out-of-stater coming in and just could care less shutting that down. It does mean a lot to me.
Well, again, Josh, I do appreciate you taking the time and addressing some of the concerns that have been popping up on social media. Obviously, you referenced the Missoulian article that came out, and that I have read that, and it was just a lot of quotes and reaction to the news. And we did see the last cattle sale for the functioning ring and cattle sales going through there. That was held on May 2nd. They do have a horse consignment sale coming up on May 11th. So that will be the final livestock auction that takes place. But as you mentioned, and for our folks tuning in here today, with collaboration with Montana Livestock Auction out of Ramsay, the Stockyards will remain there and will remain as a transfer facility. Again, as I mentioned, it's an emotional issue. It's a difficult issue, and it's no one really wins in it, but the people that are going to be able to still have a place to market their livestock, that's a great opportunity. And I really shouldn't say nobody wins, because it is staying in Montana hands and being developed to help support Montanans as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just different. It's not the same, and I definitely don't blame people for being frustrated. It's definitely a changing world, that's for sure. So I encourage people that are listening to this, the way that you can support other stockyards around the state and ranchers and farmers is to buy local. And if more people were doing that, that would actually really, really go to help these people and these types of businesses stay in business.
Hey, a quick commercial for our friends at the Montana Stock Growers. They have 2 final producer profitability listening sessions coming up. The one is going to be this Thursday, May 9th at Western Livestock Auction in Great Falls. And then the following week, I believe on the 13th, I need to look that up, over in Ronan, they'll be having the last listening session out of over 10, listening to concerns and issues, just like we talked about. How can producers stay profitable, and how folks can help family businesses like those ranchers stay in business. Josh, I'll let you have the last comments here. Anything you would just like to share with our audience tuning in here today?
Yeah, well, you just talked about the Montana Stock Growers, and over the last couple of years, we've donated knives to the Montana Stock Growers Association. Wayne Slatt, that runs Two Creek Cattle Company up in Ovando, great people. He actually, I owe him a text. He just texted me about more knives for their next banquet or whatever they got going. So the point of this is we do support the ag industry. Very proud supporter. And actually, you're going to see a lot more of us in that industry. And you won't see a lot of knife companies paying attention to the Western way of life, quite frankly, even though every one of these people carry a knife in their pocket. So, this is just a little bump in the road for some of the locals, and definitely it's a change, and I understand it. But I hope people will learn about our company and understand that, we're really actually kind of proof the American dream is real and possible. And we hope more people will follow our model, chase their dreams, and build their companies local.
Well, again, Josh Smith, thank you so much for joining us here today and discussing the future there of the Stockyards facility, Missoula Livestock Exchange there west of Missoula. And again, for more information for producers in that area, to learn more about the transfer facility in the collaboration with Montana Livestock Auction there in Ramsay, reach out to Blake Newfer and the crew there at Montana Livestock Auction. So, Josh, thanks for joining us here today.
Thank you. I really appreciate you giving me the chance to speak about this.
Well, again, friends, thanks for joining us for this special report and conversation on the Lanecast Ag Podcast in conjunction with the Western Ag Network. I'm Lane Nordlund. Catch you next time.
Thank you for tuning into the Lanecast with Talkin' Ag, Lane Nordlund. For more on Lane, check out his Facebook page, Lane Nordlund Ag Broadcaster, and NordlundCommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the Lanecast on your Apple or Android devices. We look forward to joining you next time on the Lanecast.